everybody had an opportunity to look at the agenda? Yes. Yes, it is different than what your email, so if you look through it, if we need any changes to it, we'd like to do them now rather than the motion later. This is taken. You don't feel comfortable with it if we...
Here, we need another front row.
Yeah, we need more chairs.
You know where some are, Paul? Oh, okay. They're on.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Accept the agenda. You all had an opportunity to look through the minutes last meeting. I had an exception. We need to, I didn't make those two motions that it said that I did. We just strike my name from that. Approval of agenda and approval of the minutes. I didn't make the motions that they were made by you.
John, did you make
I did.
those?
Well, there's three names in here.
Oh,
Lori made a motion to approve the
I'm gonna
agenda.
take you off.
Lori approved the second, and it was Lori that made the motion,
Oh, okay.
and Ken Yellen that made the motion on the other. You just strike those two lines out. I don't have any problems with the rest of those. Is anybody else? Any motion for the minutes then? As amended. Do we have a second on that motion? To approve the minutes. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I'd like to welcome two of our city council members, Kurt Pugmire and Mike Sparks. There you are. You guys over here. It's nice of you to come. Appreciate it. And all the rest of you fine folks, we appreciate you coming. And it's a wonderful thing to have participation in the process. We'd like to now have a final discussion on the chickens and rabbit issue. It turned out that there was a minor conflict in what we'd approved. If I understand correctly, Lori discovered it and Ken had made the motion. Agreed? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Could you tell us, Ken or Lori then? Lori,
Yeah, I want to make a real big clarification here that there was an error in the paper. I was the one that found the error, that discovered the error when I was looking back through this. This was an issue that we had before when we were trying to get this to public hearing, is that there was a legal conflict. And so because of that, our attorney would have kicked it back to us and we wouldn't have been able to go to public hearing. So we can't have, there can't be a conflict with the motion with the ordinances. And so what we did is we just stated in the motion to add in the purpose dogs, cats, hen, chickens, and rabbits, but then that conflicts with the large animal area, which limits it to 25 of chickens and 25 rabbits. So we just need to make those match. That was the only thing here.
Just one section, huh?
Just that one little section there, and that was the only thing that we needed to correct and redo the motion, and then we can go to public hearing. Because Paul is staff, we use Paul to communicate because we are a volunteer board and it's difficult for us to communicate. So I called Paul. Paul called, well, Ken was in the courthouse, or in the city hall, and we felt that we need to bring it to the attention of Byron and restate the motion, and that was all. Paul didn't have anything to do with this other than that. And the paper very previously made an error in that, I think. And because it was I noticed the problem, all as our staff communicated with the other members, and that's why we're here. And so that's all we have to do is make those match, and then we're good to go to public hearing.
I found another conflict,
Okay.
but let's resolve yours first, because this will work on it separately. So,
How do you propose that we resolve it?
well, because I think what you were saying is that right now it's limited to 25 chickens per animal unit in the large animal district. And there's no restriction on the number of chickens, rabbits, or whatever that you can have in the animal-free zone.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm. So that's conflict, and they would have kicked it back to us. The attorney would have said, no, you can't have that.
so it either makes the 25 illegal for the large animal district and unenforceable, or it creates a conflict
The other.
with the other.
Yeah.
So I think the answer is going to have to be that there has to be a number limit
So
in
if we
the
say,
animal-free zone.
25 hens, 25 rabbits, and that matches the large animal zone, and then we can go from there.
Or can we limit it and take it away completely in the large animal like we did in the animal free? So there's no limit.
Say that again?
Take the limit out of the large animal district.
Then we're.
Well, we don't
then
have
we're
it in the animal free, so why can't we take it out of the large animal?
Well, then we're changing even more things. Which may
How,
open up.
how,
Because that's not
How would that work?
part of the motion, and that's not part of what we've been discussing all this time,
okay.
is my fear. You're opening up a whole new item, and my other item means do the same thing.
What's the other conflict that you found, Ken?
In our zoning districts, the breeding, raising domestic animals for sale, food, or pleasure
Oh, thank you.
is only allowed in agricultural on a conditional use permit. It is not allowed in any of the other zones. So in order to make this not in conflict with our matrix, we have to change that to allow it. Otherwise, you're allowing it in one area and you're not allowing it in the others. So you basically have to put a P in front of all of those where it's blank. Or at least the residential, I don't think.
At least, yeah, in the residential.
On the
zone.
poultry farm?
No.
B, breeding or raising domestic animals for sale, food, or pleasure. I mean, technically that makes anybody that has puppies,
Yeah.
out of compliance too, but we're
Yeah,
not
but
gonna
that's
go
a whole
there.
different thing, isn't it? We're just talking chickens and rabbits, not,
I understand, but this is saying
So
that you
you want-
can't raise animals to eat in anywhere but agriculture.
and this is part of the code now.
This is part, yes, this is
This is the matrix.
the matrix that's in our book right now.
So you just put permitted.
You put Ps on all the residential.
I don't have any problem with that. Does anybody
So-
else?
I don't
Just
see
then
any
throw that
problem with
out.
What do P's and C's mean?
Permitted and conditional.
There's the zones they're dealing with.
So we're gonna,
Well, yeah, but isn't there permission,
isn't,
pleasure use too? It's
so
not just
this is
feeding.
not open discussion. We'll, so you want to change agricultural to permitted all the way along, right?
Well, in all
Well-
residential, I don't know that we want it in commercial or LO or CBD.
Oh, I see, just along the Rs,
Just along the.
just to R20.
Yeah.
And A too, right? Because right now A is conditional use, right?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why, that seems to me like it's a conflict of the large animal zone anyway. The large animal zone says that you could have those, but then the matrix says it's conditional. Isn't
I
it?
have to think for a minute why we did that, because I was involved in this.
There is some agricultural land, I think.
Yes,
There is.
not in not in the animal-free zone, I don't think.
No,
Maybe
but
not.
in the, within the city limits,
Oh,
there
there's
is an
one bit.
agricultural zone. Yeah, on
that's
the
in the
north
one-
end of town, yeah.
But that's in the large animal district.
Yes.
I don't know about that.
But that's no
So-
problem, I don't have any problem with putting that's permitted in all the residential.
So then is,
So then-
That's why they're saying there's a C in there now, and that's
I got my bad.
then what we would have to do is make and come to an agreement on the purpose here, on what we're gonna put in the purpose, and then along with that motion, make the motion that we permit breeding or raising of domestic animals for self-food or pleasure permitted in agriculture and residential zones on the matrix. That's what it would have to be.
Okay, yes,
Here.
yes.
Whatever that color, this is agricultural over here,
Right.
That gray and
but
then
there's, I don't think there's any in the center of town at all.
Okay.
There is some like Gary Griffin and over there.
Well, let's just make it consistent, Norm, just change the whole thing to, yeah, not downtown like you say, or M1, not the manufacturing, but all the residential. And you say there are no agricultural areas?
within
There's, within the large animal district, within the animal free zone, no. I
We're
just
trying
showed you where the agricultural
Okay,
was.
and that was in the large animal district, right?
That's correct.
And so we're trying to make the large animal district and the animal free district consistent. That's why you wanted to change the 15 to the 25 chickens.
Yes,
Well, that's
So
what she's doing, and I
let's
wanna
just
make
put-
this
and
consistent
then
with.
make that,
Yeah,
because there's
so
two separate things.
that's all we'd have to do is just put a P there and then agricultural.
And
and through-
through the
through
residential
R20.
areas, in order to make the matrix match the
Yeah.
ordinance.
That's great.
I don't believe there is any R20 in town anyways,
But,
but,
I think the only thing that's R20 is the Red Rock Mobile Home Park, that's the only
okay.
one.
any problems with that, or that portion of it? And the only other question is whether to, about the 25 chickens, whether to eliminate it or to add it to the animal free district, right?
I think we should add it.
Add it, okay.
I feel like we should add it so that we can at least, so that we can get to public hearing and then have a recommendation to the city council. I was looking back at some paperwork today, and it was this date 1 year ago that we started it.
That
There
doesn't
was
surprise
some,
me.
there was some it wasn't that we were arguing about this the whole time, there was some other problems issues that we were having, we didn't have enough members, we were having problems with having a quorum,
Yeah.
and so there was some other extenuating circumstances, it really was not that we were in disagreement and arguing over this, and we're in the research mode, but, yeah.
Where do you feel, Paul?
I just still feel like we're taking rights away from them, or raising, large animal. We started this out from when I was here, when we started defining it, and now we've come up with giving them rights, and now we're gonna, we started with rights and we felt good about it, and now there's a conflict, so now we're going to take some of those rights away again, because we had it in a large residential, and I think we should just eliminate how many are coming into that point.
Well, your original proposal was only gonna allow
Was
4 chickens.
Right.
Yeah,
Now
right,
we're
it
up
was
to
more than that,
25.
and, yeah,
That was in the large animal, but
No, this is your permit that you have.
Let's let them have their opinion, that's not, and Paul, how do you feel?
Well, I think that as far as if we take, just from a standpoint of across the board here, if we take and we solely go, if we take out of the large animal district, not talking about the purpose of this permit here, if we take it out of just the rabbits and the chickens, then we seem to be in conflict with the other numbers, because we're then restricting on other numbers like on pigeons and things like that. So I think we need to be consistent across the board as far as whether we're going to, if we, in the large animal district where right now our purpose is to give the opportunity for rabbits and chickens in the animal free zone, if we don't limit the number that's been there historically, that's been in the large animal, and we cut that off, then basically we'll be here again because then somebody wants 4 sheep instead of 3 because we took it off that time. We're gonna set a precedence that either we take all the numbers out, or we restrict the numbers to match the large animal district, because if we just specifically identify rabbits and chickens within the ordinance, it's gonna, well then, if that's the case, then why can't I have 2 cows? How come I can't have, 25 sheep or whatever?
So I'm a little unclear. You want to leave the numbers in the large animal?
Well, I'm just saying,
or you want to
I'm
do-
saying there's never been an issue in the large animal district that's come before anybody that says that 25 chickens is not enough.
So you're agreeing with
So I'm
Ken?
agreeing to say, to leave it there. I'm saying if we just arbitrarily pick 2 out of the ordinance that already exist
Yes.
and just
Okay.
change that, then the question's gonna come up on horses and cows and sheep
Okay.
and all of that,
I
so.
don't know which way he's going.
So
He's-
what are
he's
you
agreeing with
recommending
you.
then?
I'm recommending that we leave the numbers in, because if we just take the 2 out of the other ordinance, then we're saying, well, we're only specifically changing these 2 animals.
So what, just for my clarification, so if we add 25 hens and 25 rabbits to the purpose, then that's going to count, and that's what you're saying?
That's because we're matching what
What-
we already have
Okay.
historically. If we change the other way, then I think we gotta look at all of the animals
Mhm.
and say, are we gonna update those numbers?
Right.
Or eliminate those numbers?
Right.
Which then opens up a whole nother thing that we never got
I
into.
think we're with
Right.
you. Don?
Well, I think that these numbers are okay with me. 25, you take the average laying hen lays around 180 eggs a year. If you got 25 of them, you got a hell of a bunch of eggs. You know. And rabbits will have litters a lot. 25 rabbits are a lot of rabbits. And that's a lot of work to take care of that many. So I'm okay with the numbers, and I think maybe I can see where Paul was going too. If we start changing the metrics on that large animal, we'll have to get a can of worms. So I'm okay with the numbers.
Do you want to remake the motion?
All right. My motion last meeting was, not that one. Where's the motion? All right. Well, I don't see that my motion is in the minutes from last meeting. No, it says, it doesn't say I made a motion and it was second, it says I made a proposal that we do this.
Oh, okay.
So our motion is missing from the minutes.
I guess I don't need that too, because we did have a motion.
Yes, definitely, around the room, so. All right, I make a motion that we, I gotta find that.
Section.
Let's see.
Here it is. That we amend 17.36.010 to include 25 hen chickens and 25 rabbits.
I think we need to say, so this chapter does not include dogs, cats, something like that.
Okay, all right. My motion is that we amend that 17.36.010 purpose. This chapter does not include dogs, cats, 25 hen chickens, and 25 rabbits.
I will second that motion.
I think we'll do a separate,
Mhm. I think we need to do a second
Yeah.
one on that too.
because this is a whole separate issue,
Mhm.
and it needs to be stated specifically in our,
Ken made the motion and Lori seconded. All in favor? Say aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Ayes have it.
Okay.
Motion carries.
all right, and it's very important that this be included in our advertising and public hearing as a separate item. Because I remember what we went through when we established this and redid it. Okay. I make a motion that we amend 17.24.030 the official schedule of district regulations matrix, and she has a copy. Under agricultural, breeding or raising domestic animals for sale, food, or pleasure, R2, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 20, the,
What about the A?
I thought we weren't gonna do that, all right.
Oh, okay. Do we need to have more discussion on that? Cause
Okay, I can do that, that's no
Okay.
problem, all right. That the districts A, R2, R4, R6, R8, R12, and R20 be permitted for breeding or raising domestic animals for sale, food, or pleasure. That's my motion. I'm sticking to
I'd
it.
like to second that. All in favor?
I,
Unanimous. Thank you very much. I would like to have an open discussion for a moment. I brought the rules, also we've had it many times, and I've been poring over these rules. It's the paper that says administration on the top of it. And I'd just like for you to study that and see if we can't come closer to adhering to the rules that have been laid out in the past for us. I thought it was interesting that the chair serves for 1 year and then will be re-elected. We had talked about before having a co-chair and then the co-chair taking over for the chair, but that's not the case. We don't get to make up our own rules, is my point. There's quite a few rules in here that we haven't adhered to before. If you could just read through it, take it home and just take some time with it and read through it. That's the thing that I was interested in. They mentioned, we had some discussion on having an opening prayer. I was informed that it can't be on the agenda, but we can have a prayer. If any of you feel that that's inappropriate, or if you have any issues with that, and you may not feel comfortable about talking about it in public. If you do, I'd like to hear it now. If you don't, if you have an issue with that, you could be happy to talk to me privately. We don't wish to offend anybody in any way. And we definitely don't wish to dominate anybody. We'd be just as happy to have a Muslim pray to Allah as anybody else.
I'd just like to, I think, something else brought up last week, but I do like the fact that in city council, they do say to do the pledge too.
Like
It
to have the
reminds
pledge.
me, it reminds us of, where we are and what the purpose that we're here for.
That was Donna.
And there was that you, Donna?
Didn't you serve in Vietnam, Donna?
I did.
I'm always real proud that you're my friend from the parade. You look so good. I think we could honor our veterans and the other people by saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Does anybody have a problem with that?
I was gonna suggest it too.
Well, good job. Donna said it, and so let's initiate that in the next meeting then, if that'd be all
I
right.
think that's a good idea.
We don't know if that can go on the agenda or not.
That just goes under welcome.
Okay, a law goes under welcome.
Prayer and pledge of allegiance at the end of welcome.
That's great. That's the two things I wanted to discuss. Anything else that you guys would like to discuss?
When, are we having the public hearing on the 11th at this point, or what's the schedule?
That should be how it works.
Is it
Double check those days right there. Should be the 11th
Yeah.
of April.
We'll make sure I can be there.
Debbie's got it rolling, she's got it already, got it off, she can come.
And
Yes,
then
I'll be there.
is city council on the 17th then, and so then from there it can go to
Yes.
the recommendation go to city council.
We'll set that meeting after the open
We gotta have
discussion.
one burst of Adam between here and there though.
Okay, no problem. Anything else that's puzzling you or troubling you or
Well,
that you'd like to bring out?
time will tell.
We'd open up for 5 or 10 minutes if anybody else wanted to. It's an open discussion. Would anybody else have any things they'd like to bring up or for us to consider perhaps? John, go ahead.
My friend Eric here was at the last meeting, and he had an editorial in the paper. I don't know if you guys saw it.
I did.
He wants to raise white king pigeons as a thing that he did as a ancestral thing growing up in Denmark. and wants to continue that practice with his family here, and wants to know, and he wants to be able to do that without any interference from the city. So it's a special breed of pigeon. It never goes out of the cage. It'd be just like the chickens, and he wants to know what he needs to do to be able to do that. So I'm saying I'd like to try and propose that he's able to do that just like we're doing with the chickens. I don't see any reason he shouldn't be able to have those to be raised. You just said that we can produce food on our own land and do that. But now this is just chickens and rabbits, so kind of looks like a chicken. We'll just call it a chicken. Anyway, that's what I wanted to say.
And I spoke with him today, and I'd like to address this a little bit further. The breed of chicken, or the breed of pigeon that he wants to raise, you butcher them when they're little before they're able to fly around. I mean, they're obviously something that we don't all know about, because obviously I'm guessing none of us have raised this breed of pigeon, but it's something native to him. This is a picture of it, just so you can kind of all see. But like I said, it's something that, it's not like the Walton feed pigeon. I mean, it's not those ones that, are in our attics and flying all over the place.
Well, if we get the idea, we'll consider that in the future.
But I mean, it'd be something similar to a chicken. I mean, it's obviously it would be smaller than a chicken and it's smaller than a rabbit.
Can I answer that?
Sure.
At the moment, the only way that it would be allowed is the same way that, what's her name, was here last week. Ramona Rowland had to get a variance, conditional use permit. That's the only way we can do it at this point in time. I'm not starting an argument.
No, that's
No, hang on. And I will reiterate, as Lorinda has said, we have a serious problem with pigeons in this area. And I can't see us blanketly allowing pigeons, and I see a problem if you name one species of animal.
But if they're in a coop and they're confined,
Then we're gonna
like the
be-
chicken's gonna be,
then
I
we're
mean, they're
gonna
not gonna be flying around, they're gonna be confined to a coop.
Well, when we have the public hearing, you could mention that, but it won't be changed. The only thing that can happen in the public hearing is what is listed in the paper. Pigeons are not a part of it so far, but that's something that we'll consider. It's not something we're not gonna do that tonight. I mean, we're not gonna allow pigeons tonight.
But he could get a special use permit for that.
Sure, or maybe he and I are friends, maybe we
How
can
much
work
is
it
the
out.
special use permit?
200, plus the printing in the News Examiner.
But
And how
maybe-
much is that?
It's between 30 and 70. Because they have to notify people in a 300-foot radius
One second, Brad, I'll call
that
it.
it's gonna happen. Because of how many letters are sent out and how long the printing is.
The same is true for anything that's not permitted. That's what we just did tonight. What we hopefully did tonight, we'll go before the city council and we'll see if they approve it. But we just permitted it. Brad, you have a comment?
Yeah, to me, I just see a lot of freedom being taken away from us. And you're talking about the way it's written now, then why don't we, as a zoning committee, change the way it's written? That's why I think a lot of us are here, is because we don't like the way that it's written. We don't like the fact that our freedoms are being taken away. If I have the right to farm on my land and have any animal I want on my land by the state of Idaho, why do I need to come in and pay the city of Montpelier $200 plus print it in the paper for my God-given and government right that I have from the Bill of Rights to the Constitution to the state of Idaho, and Montpelier wants to restrict me from what I can do? Because what if I can't come up with the $200? What if I can't afford this? That's why some of us are raising animals, because it's cheaper for us to raise them than it is to go to the store and buy them. And now you're wanting to restrict what is all right. I mean, I'm willing to make concessions. If you want to put a limit on 25 chickens, I'm fine with that. Because I agree with a lot of other people here that don't want a pig farm to come on a half an acre of land with 30 pigs. I don't want that either. And I don't think anybody in town wants that. I don't think that's the issue and that's the discussion. We just want to be able to have our rights to raise what we want on our own land. It's my land. It's not the city's land.
Thank you, Brett.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments. I thought it was interesting, I've poured over that section that you referred to as well on the farm bill, or the, let me see the name of it.
Bill 22, chapter 45.
Yes, and if that's true, I can only see one section that says that. Let me read it to everybody so we can all be on the same page. It talks about, most of the bill is about nuisance laws. And so that a city or an entity cannot declare a farm a nuisance, especially if they've been there for a while. If they've been there over a year, they can't encroach on a farm and declare them a nuisance and put them out of business. And that's a great law. But there's this line in the bill. The legislature also finds the right to farm as a natural right, and it is recognized as a permitted use throughout the state of Idaho. So, if you wish to exercise that right, there's no need to be here demanding it. You already have it. Not according to me, but according to you and this. That's what they're
But you
arguing
want me
about,
to
okay?
pay you to be able to have that right. I don't have to pay you for that right, and that's where I'm coming from.
Okay, I understand.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes,
I understand, like I said, how some people don't want that big pig farm or that many animals or that next
But,
door,
yeah.
and I can side with that, and I think everybody agrees with that. But,
Brad,
I
you've
mean-
had it for plenty of time, though. We understand your position.
So with the changes that we made, that were proposed by Ken and Laura and everyone agreed to, is there permits that are now required to
No.
raise the chickens?
No, you can just have 25 chickens or 25
20
rabbits.
or 5
Okay, I just
rabbits.
If
wanted to make
this,
sure I
but that's
understood.
not, we're not the
We're
the
not
governing.
Right,
We
I'm
make
just
the
saying,
suggestion.
with what you proposed, I just wanted to make sure. I
When we have this next meeting, we may have twice as many people come to the meeting and say, we do not want chickens,
Right,
okay?
absolutely, I do.
Provided that you comply with section 602, dealing with nuisances and stuff like that.
Right, that's.
Okay, you can't be a horrible neighbor just because we're allowing
And I would
25
like to
rabbits.
And my
clarify
chickens
too
are
that,
far from my neighbors that
that-
can be.
you know, we're being looked at like an enemy that's taking away people's rights, and I don't feel like that. I feel like that we've been going through this and trying to give you more rights
Yeah.
and correct a wrong.
You didn't
And
have them.
so,
And I think
You know,
you
there's-
can't put restrictions on
Brad,
correcting the
Brad,
law.
please.
no,
And
but,
that's my point.
but you have to stay in accordance with the law also, and we have to do it accordance in
Well,
steps
yeah,
accordance
but
to the
I'm
law.
saying you're taking a proposal that obviously almost everybody here that's sitting on this side disagrees with. And so why are we taking that proposal?
And that's
mean,
why
that's
we
what I'm
have,
saying. Why
that's why
don't
we
we-
have public hearing, and then,
In the city limits.
then from public hearing, then we go from public hearing, make a recommendation from public hearing, and go to the city council, and then
Let me just read one thing before we move on. The Constitution of the State of Idaho, Article 1, Declaration of Rights. Political power inherent in the people, that's the title of it. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for their equal protection and benefit. That's pretty straightforward in the state constitution. The people is the government, and the government is here to make sure that it's equal and protected. I'd like to set a date now for the next planning and zoning meeting that's been suggested, that we have the 11th of March. Is that agreeable with everybody? It's very important that we're all here.
of April.
Of April, I'm sorry.
And that's public hearing.
Everybody for the public hearing. Is that agreeable with everybody? Okay. All right, take the last motion then.
So it's kind of neat with attention.
I wanted to make a comment.
Okay,
Can I?
we said 5 or 10 minutes. I think we gave you about 20, so.
You took the time, Brad.
Yeah, that's right. Trying to give somebody else a chance.
Oh, okay, make a motion that we adjourn? Is that what you want? Yeah.
Second or? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
I'd be happy to sit and talk with you outside the meeting if you'd like. You know, now, if those who wish to go home can, the meeting's over.
I find it interesting.